Okay, I'm just going to demonstrate a very simple test output. Uh, so I'm going to take an input and output a test message at the end of it and show you how you can test it within Aquasuite. So first of all you need to add an output, so I'm going to choose pop-up. This information, I'm not going to bother to have it making a noise. I'm going to say test message. Okay, that's my final output. Now the first thing I want to do is take an input value from a data source. So we'll take our data source and I'm just going to pick the CPU temperatures, so my core idle. Now one thing I am going to do, because I'm going to set a trigger at 100C in a minute, I'm going to make sure that my fallback value here is below what my alert value is going to be, and the reason for that is to prevent false positives. Okay. Now the second little thing we need is a fixed value to compare against. So use a constant. And I'm going to call that trigger value. And I'm going to put that at 100. So we now need something to compare the temperature to the trigger to see if it's exceeding it. So this is where you come into your select function. You want a logic step, and I want it if A, which is greater than B, then output a 1. So that's my output step. So I link my sensor value into A, my trigger value into B, and take that across so that it's got a value there. Now in order to test this, you either need to run some program to get your temperature on the CPU to exceed the trigger value. You don't actually need to do that. You can do this within Aquasuite itself. If you right click on the settings for the input, for the data source input, you've got this test data output section at the bottom. So I'm going to set that to 102 degrees, 102, and I want to output it for 15 seconds. I'll click on the tick OK there. Now if I want to test this, whatever I've put in on the right hand side here, all I need to do now is right click on the data input sensor and click output test data. It's now outputting a value of 102, and it'll hold that there for 15 seconds. And as you can see, it's output popped up my test message. At the moment this is all equal to 1. Now it's gone back to 0, which won't kill the test message automatically. So again, a couple of things to bear in mind whenever you're doing anything like this. You always need to make sure that your fallback value isn't going to create a false positive, and you need to set a test value in that is greater than or less than, depending on what you're checking, the trigger value. And then to output the test value, right click on it, output test data, and that will now output a 1 for 15 seconds before going back to 0. And there we go, back at 0.